Hi, friends. I hope you're doing well. My name is Talicha J, and I'm a poet and teaching artist. And today I wanted to give you a transparent look at how much money I've made off of being a poet and a teaching artist in Q1 of 2025. So, quick disclaimer, this is not going to be a quit your day job type of video. I don't make that kind of money. I just wanted to share how I supplement my income so I can do things like pay my Squarespace bill or pay for my Zoom subscription when I'm teaching workshops, things like that. So I'll be sharing my screen and walking through my Notion tracker, which I affectionately call the greenhouse. And yeah, you'll get a look at how I've made money this quarter, and I'll provide some tips on how you can make some money as well. Stay tuned. Let's get into it. So this is my greenhouse, which I use to house all things poetry career related. If you are interested in learning more about this space, please let me know. We can always do a tour at some point. But today we're going to focus on the earnings and expenses tracker. Yeah, so starting off, we have our quarterly goal right here at the top. Every quarter, I set a financial goal not to stress myself out, but to track how folks are engaging with what I'm putting out into the world. So last year, I set my goal for $500 a quarter, and I was really surprised to exceed that, and so grateful to my community for showing up to all the things that I put out, buying books, things like that. So this year I bumped it up to $1,000, and spoiler alert, I did hit my Q1 goal. So let's get into how. So starting off, if we're looking at January, here's a quick rundown. We'll go through all of this, but I'm just going to give you the numbers first and foremost, because I know that's what some of y'all are just here for. You're going to see the numbers and click off, and that's cool. But for those of you who want to get into the nitty gritty and get some tips on how you can also get some money, you will want to stick around after I give you the numbers. But anyway, in Q1 for January, I made $547.19. In February, I made a whopping $204.36. And in March, I made $385.57. So my Q1 total was $1,137.12. Yeah, we're going to get into the categories and how things added up now. So hope you stick around for this part. So if we're starting off by category, if we're looking at publication payouts, these are, or I have it listed here as a publication award. This is me getting paid for my poems, putting work out into the world. I will say that this is not easy, but it's not impossible. It takes polishing your work and putting it out there constantly. So I got two payouts in this category for this quarter. The first one was $40. Let me give you also a quick breakdown of what you're seeing. That might be helpful. So this first column obviously is the category, and this is like where the money came from. This is the amount that the participant or the vendor or the magazine, whoever's paying me, this is the amount that they paid. This is the amount after fees and taxes or anything like that. And then this column is a split. So this is because I do collaborative spaces. So for example, Revision Roundtable is a collaborative space. And so I split the money, this amount, I split this down the middle with my partner, Sarah Beth. And so this is the amount that I actually get paid. This just helps me keep track of what I personally am making. And then Right Start was also a collaborative 4-week space that I put on with my partners, Priscilla and Nikki. And so we put this on, and of course that means it had to be split 3 ways because there's 3 of us. So this just shows me how much I made, because otherwise I would be thinking I made $669. So anyway, that's that category or that column. And then we have the method of payment, and then we have the date that the payment was made. There's another column that you can't see that's normally at the front, and that is telling me who has paid me. But for privacy reasons, I have shifted that over to the side. So yeah. So this is what we're looking at. So for this publication award, I made $40, and then after fees and stuff, it was $38 for a single poem. Hello? And then I also had a publication payout in February. This one was an international lit mag or journal, and so they didn't actually pay me $35.89. I believe it was like 40 whatever dollars their currency, but then after the conversion and then PayPal taking their fees, it was $35.89. I did a bad job of recording what the actual amount they paid was. So yeah, I would say that was the only one, because I didn't have any publication awards in March. The next category is book sales. This is very small for me, okay? I had really just the one royalty payout because my chapbook won a contest, and so every 6 months the press was paying out royalties. So this is like a 60-40 split. So I'm assuming this was like a $75 was the total, so I got 60% of that, and that's about 5 books. So not a lot of books sold in general. I also don't push my books very well. I should do it better, but I don't like having to fulfill them. Let me not say I don't like it. I just have to have the energy to fulfill them. And when I say fulfill them, I just mean packing and shipping them out. myself. If I have the energy, then I will push it and I will be really excited to go to the post office and record myself going to the post office because it is fun, but I just have to have the energy for that. So shout out to anyone who's ever mailed books by hand. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. And then the bulk of what I make, and as you can see, no book sales in February or March. The bulk of what I make comes from teaching workshops. It is my bread and butter. So if you are a poet or writer looking to bring in some money, workshops is where it's going to be at because people want that community. One, they want to be together in a creative space because it's just really, for me personally, it's really inspiring to be in a workshop with other writers and poets who are about that life, right? Who are like, yes, I want to write. It's really the only way I write these days is if I show up to workshops. And then people want to learn something that maybe they don't already know about or that they don't have as much information about, or maybe they just want to try something new, right? Sometimes there's newbies, like people who've never written a poem will take your workshop, right? So you get to introduce them to those things. Anyway, if we're looking at January, I did a Multiverse of Self, which was a 6-week workshop where I did everything, right? Marketing and promotions and the workshop planning and teaching it and drafting the emails and sending them out. It was a big thing. It was a 6-week workshop and I loved every moment of it, but it was also a lot. So here you see that there were 4 payments here. This was actually because it started in January. So most folks paid me in December. So this was my biggest workshop to date, like as far as payments. So I made, I think, $1,100 total off of it, which was like amazing. Because prior to that, I think the most I've made on a single workshop was like a little over $300. So I was really excited. That was my goal. I wanted to make $1,000 and I hit it. And yeah, so grateful for that workshop. I got to learn a lot about myself as a teaching artist. Revision Roundtable. This, like I said, is a collaborative space that I co-host monthly with Sarah Beth Brooks. For this, someone paid in January for the February workshop. As you can see, they paid on the 29th. And then we had another person pay for it on the 19th, because I think the date was like the 28th or something. Someone had actually paid in advance way back in December for the 3rd spot. This is something that we do limit. Originally, it was like 4 people could sign up. And then we really liked the way it felt when there were 3 participants in the space because we had more time to spend. So we had all 3 folks sign up. So that was lovely. As you can see, Revision Roundtable, like someone paid $25. This is the amount after Squarespace payments took their fees. So after we split it down the middle, I got $11.98 for that. And then everything for Multiverse, as you can see, I just got to keep all of that because that was strictly my space. And then I also had Right Start in January, which was co-facilitated with Priscilla Thomas and Nikki Gray, 2 amazing writers and individuals in general. It was something that was starting in January. So most people signed up in December. So we had just a couple folks that like slid on in there and paid for it. So you can see how much, and it's really cool too, because you can even see the difference between how fees are taken between the methods of payment, right? So here in both instances, they pay $85, but after fees, if they paid with Afterpay, then the total amount we got was $79 versus the $82 from Squarespace. And then when we split it 3 ways, as you can see, it's not a huge difference, but hello, it's money, right? It's money that's being snatched away from us for fees, but I digress. Let's see. And that was, as far as workshops go, I also taught a one-off workshop called These Phantoms Are Black. I was originally going to do it in February, but I was burnt out, y'all. After January, I was done. I actually postponed it and moved it to March, which actually worked out well because only one person had signed up for this workshop. In the category that you can't see, it actually says what the workshop title is. But anyway, in case you're like, it just says workshop. I know which one it is though. So yeah, one person paid in February and then I had 4 more people sign up in March. And then one person paid for the workshop materials. Actually, 2 people paid for the workshop materials. So one person bought them in January or February and one person bought them in March. Sell your materials, friends. That's an extra, $20 before fees, an extra $9.41 times 2. But yeah, let me see. And then I also did freelance teaching for this category. It just means that I taught for someone else. There's this space that I love. I really adore it called Undercurrent. And I used to attend it all the time, but my work schedule has taken me away from it. But anyway, the facilitator Des was off at EWP doing the Writer's Life thing. And so I was invited to come in and facilitate. So I was able to do the evening session. And yeah, so I got paid. And so the cool thing about how they paid me, it was with Venmo. And so I get to keep 100% of that money. There are no fees taken out from Venmo. Now I say I get to keep 100% of the money. Friends, these columns, none of this includes taxes, okay? So I have it set up with my bank account, my business bank account for all of these things, where a certain percentage goes into a little account that has like a 1% APR kind of interest rate thing. And so basically interest rate, it's not a thing. That's okay. Anyway, money. And so, yeah, I have a percentage of everything that comes in goes into that account so that at the end of the year, when it's tax season, I'm not like caught out there because you ain't pay taxes on this? Yeah, I got that money. I got that money right there waiting. So yeah, actually it worked out really well this year. I didn't wind up owing as much as I thought I would. I actually saved way more of the money that I needed to for taxes, but I just call that savings now. That's savings for the business. Anyway, yeah, that was a freelance teaching opportunity. Those were all of the workshops that I did. So I want to give you some tips. And this is specifically for teaching artists. But if you're not a teaching artist, I'm going to put yet on the back of that. You're not a teaching artist yet. I think that if you are an artist who wants to make money, hey, teach a generative workshop, teach a craft workshop. There's so many options out there and people will show up, especially if it's virtual. Okay. So anyway, my tips for teaching artists, start with one-offs. Multi-week workshops are a beast. So start off, make sure that you're doing one workshop and that you're putting your time, your energy, and your effort into making it good. Make sure you do a dry run. And yeah, just don't try to jump headfirst into a multi-week workshop. Because one, especially if you're just beginning, if you don't know what your process is, then you are going to be overwhelmed. I was teaching workshops virtually for over a year before I decided to do a 6-week workshop, and I was still very overwhelmed, even having processes in place to make it as smooth as possible. And collaborate. The other tip I have for you is to collaborate with other teaching artists or people who want to become teaching artists, right? It grows your audience and it splits the workload, right? So whoever you're bringing in can now meet this person you're collaborating with, and the people who come from them get to meet you and potentially become your new audience and customers for you in the future. Please collaborate. And then the final tip, or at least for this little section, is to sell your workshop materials. I only had 2 people this quarter purchase workshop materials, but every quarter somebody purchases workshop materials. And that's because some people don't like being around other people, but they want the information. I will say if you're doing it, make sure that your workshop materials are good. Make sure that you're not just, oh, here's a link to a single poem and here's one single prompt and this is $10. Huh? My workshop materials are pretty robust. So I include poems that we were reading during the workshop, multiple brainstorming questions, multiple prompts. There's some Mad Libs in there. I give supplemental materials that they can read on their own. I include a playlist. Sometimes there's tarot spreads, right? Like just whatever you want to do. You don't have to do all of that, but make sure that you're offering something that is worth the money that you are asking people to pay you for, especially if they're not coming to the workshop to have that experience that would maybe make a one poem, one prompt type of packet an experience. I'm not going to give my judgments on workshop styles, but just wanting to throw that out there. So moving on to other ways I've made money this quarter. Looking at February, I got paid out to be a juror for a national contest. And so they paid me $75. This was for like the regional. So basically when I say juror, I mean, I read submission packets and scored them. And so that way, when it gets to the people who will be judging, they will get the best of the best. They'll get the things that were highest scored. So it was one of very many people reading because there were a lot of submissions to this. So they paid me $75 for the regional. And then this quarter, I'm getting the second payout because I also did another panel of national submissions. And so that one's $100. It'll be paid out some point this month, which is April. So today is April 20th. I think it should be here like this coming week. I filled out an application and they selected me. Look for opportunities that you can be a reader for stuff. I 10 out of 10 recommend it. Just in general, I think that all poets and teaching artists should be reading other people's work. And there are opportunities to do this where you don't get paid, right? To be a reader for a publication. For example, I am a reader for Frontier Poetry and I don't get paid for that, but I get to read people's work and I get to see what it's like on the other side of the table, like what is working and what is not working. Like how do I, when I encounter a poem packet, like what is sticking out and what is making this poem packet more impressive than the previous one, right? So I get to learn those things and apply them to my own work. So anyway, these are great ways to earn money and to learn what works and what doesn't. And I think you could just like Google, or I say Google, I've de-Googled my life, so I use DuckDuckGo, but I don't know. I feel like Google is just the way you say search the internet. Anyway, you can search the internet for juror opportunities. They're out there, friends, so snatch them up when you see them. Another way was a Substack subscription. In February, I don't know, I woke up one day and somebody had purchased my Substack subscription. I don't put my Substack behind a paywall, so everything on there is free, but I do have the option for folks to pay if they want to, or just to like help support me because your girl got bills. Okay. So like I do a lot of stuff for free. And I think that that is necessary and it's rewarding for me to do that. If I have a resource that I can offer to someone for free, I want to do that. But I gotta pay the bills too. I was like, did they do this on purpose? Did they mean to? Because I didn't even know who it was. But I was so grateful that they did. They paid for the annual. And I set my Substack subscription. That's so hard to say. Oh my gosh. I set that for the lowest amount possible. I would have did $1, but $5 was the lowest you could go. So yeah, that's the thing. If you are a writer, please put your work out there. Substack can be a really great way to get your skills up, like with as far as like being consistent with writing and sharing your work and building your community that way. Someone attended one of my workshops because I posted on Substack. Hello? Yeah. That's another way to bring in money, right? You're building your network, you're building your community. So shout out to my Substack subscriber. I appreciate you. You helped pay the bills. And then another way that I made money this quarter was one-to-one services. This is new for me, y'all. I've been wanting to do one-to-one services for a long time, but I've just been battling those thoughts of who will want to do this with me, like who will trust me with their work or with their ideas, and just downplaying myself. But luckily I have a really amazing community that hypes me up and reminds me of the value that I add. And so I'm just like, thanks friends. They pushed me out of the nest. And so I started Groundwork Conversations is my one-to-one coaching. I don't know. Most people say then that they have clients, but I don't like to call people my clients. So anybody who works with me in Groundwork Conversations will be a collaborator. We are collaborating on whatever it is, whether it's a book or a project, anything that you are working on and working through, we are collaborating. So anyway, this is a payment from my beta collaborator. So basically I was like, I want to start it, but I'm really like, I don't know, it's him and hawing. And actually this person reached out and said, hey, do you offer these services? And I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about it. And so like, why don't we do like a beta situation? I can help you out with your project and you can help me figure out how I want to best provide services to folks. Like what is going to be my process? How do I want to do these things? And they agreed. So we've been working together. And even though I told them they did not have to pay me, they have found value in what I've been offering and have decided like, we're paying you. Super, super grateful for this collaborator who has been paying me for our monthly sessions. So grateful. And then another one is Refine the Roots. This is another one-to-one service for feedback and revision that I'm working on. And I've decided to do like a beta test for it during a free challenge that I offered called Rewrite 30 for National Poetry Writing Month. I couldn't imagine writing 30 poems this year because I had so many poems from the previous year and the year before that I just haven't even revised. So for me, I was like, let me just create a revision challenge and focus on that this month. And I invited folks to join me. And then I also offered an add-on for $65 for, I think it was like 40 something and 60 something for 48 and 65 for different tiers or whatever. And so one person signed up for it. And yeah, so we're going to have a one-on-one revision session. I'm offering like other perks for signing up as well, like weekly emails and additional support after our session for a few weeks. Just testing these things out to see how they work, how I want to process them. So I mean, a little over, I was going to say 165, but clearly not because of fees. But yeah, that's one way I have earned some money. So I think that covered everything. Yeah, we looked at all of the things that are on here. That's it. Q1, $1,137.12 earned from a mix of poems, workshops, coaching, and community work. Was it a full living wage? No. Cannot pay all the bills. But it was meaningful income. It was money that I made doing the thing that I love to do. And it was my work, my art being respected. And I don't know, that fills me up. So anyway, my final tip for you all is to pay yourself. Please pay yourself. I know a lot of folks who are doing this type of work, but they pay the bills, but they don't pay themselves. I set aside 20% of everything that comes in to my business account, everything I earn. So it's not just for taxes, not just for reinvesting into the business, but it's just for me. So I say to treat yourself. You earned it. So yeah, that's it. Let me know in the comments what's one way you made money from your creative work or something you want to try to make money from. And yeah, I'll see you back here next Monday because hello, this is a thing that I'm doing now. Until then, I hope you take care of yourselves. Keep creating. Have a great week, friends. Bye.